Last night I played MGM and then Bally's. I left Bally's at like 5 and had to be back at Bally's for the weekly free roll at 9. I slept about an hour and didn't catch the free roll. Then I went to Aria. I called in and I was still way at the bottom of the list. There were only 3 1-3s open, so I didn't play. I went to MGM. I did double up in my hour and a half at MGM, and then I came here, and as soon as I checked into this Airbnb, I went to sleep because I had only slept that 1 hour. But now it's like 8:15, and I'm going to go back probably to MGM with the free roll, and with MGM, I think I played about 3 hours so far. Okay, I have a story about straddling in addition to saying that I don't really like it. I definitely understand it in theory, what it's supposed to do. The thing is, it almost never actually accomplishes that in practice. It's supposed to like prevent a lot of chops and create more action. The thing is, if you're in a game that has action, the straddle is pointless. I mean, there was a game in Council Bluffs. I remember this because it was literally every hand all night. It was 25 to see the flop all night. It was a 1-3 game in Council Bluffs. I don't remember one hand all night where it was cheaper than $25 to see the flop. So if you wanted to straddle and make it 1-3-6 instead of 1-3, there was absolutely no point because someone at that table was going to raise to $25 anyway. It also usually makes the game play smaller if no one's playing any hands. So if it's a really tight table and people aren't even limping for $3, they're not going to start limping all of a sudden for $6. That doesn't make any sense. And if someone is going to come in for a raise, especially in places where the straddle can be more than just double the big blind, in Council Bluffs it could be between 2x and 5x the big blind. I think the same in Baltimore. So if it's 1-3 and someone's straddling for 10, if someone were going to come in and raise to 12 or 15, they're not raising anymore because the straddle is 10. They're just going to call the 10. So instead of a raise to 15, you get a limp of 10, and 4 people will put in $10 instead of 4 people putting in $15. The straddle actually makes the gameplay smaller. There was a guy in Baltimore who actually got mad because we were short-handed and it turned into a very tight table for a few minutes. He was mad that I was the only one unwilling to straddle. And then a hand happened where he straddled like 9 and a guy limped the 9 and 2 other people did, and then he checked. So 4 people put in $9, and after the hand I told him, do you see what just happened here? That guy who came in first to go, if you didn't straddle, he would have raised to 15. And 4 people would have put in $15, but because you straddled, he decided only to call the 9, and your straddle just made this gameplay smaller. And that's the exact opposite of what you're trying to do, and that's why you're mad at me for not straddling. Because you think I'm making the gameplay smaller, you just made the gameplay smaller. And I think he was way too stupid to understand all that. But that was exactly what happened. Actually, last year at Flamingo, this is also something I don't get. It was 1-2 at Flamingo, and this guy he was asking everyone every hand to straddle. So it was in essence becoming a 1-2-5 game. So after a while, just because it was so it was like such an ordeal for him to do this every single hand, I said, do you just want to make this a 2-5 table? And he said, oh no, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, we're playing 1-2-5, so it's costing everybody $8 per orbit. If we just make it 2-5, it'll only cost everybody $7 per orbit. He goes, no, I don't want to play 2-5. I just want to straddle every hand in the 1-2. And I said, you want it to be $5 to go, and you're asking everybody every single hand if they're willing to do this. If we just make it 2-5, It's cheaper for everybody, every orbit, and you won't have to go around the table asking every single person to straddle every single hand. It'll just be the big blind. It's better in every aspect if we just make this a 2-5 table. And he just kept saying how much he wanted to play 1-2, not 2-5, but he also wanted to straddle every single time. So, I don't know, people, I really didn't understand that guy. I thought he would jump on the idea of playing 2-5. Yeah, I know that happens all the time at 2-5 also. People want to straddle and make it 2-5-10. I mean, there's a stake for that. There are 5-10 tables. Like, 2-5-10, you could just play 5-10. It's more expensive and it's inconsistent because not every single person is going to straddle. I really don't get it. I really... Okay, it's about 7:15, played all night, but as long as I'm talking about straddles today, earlier, like 1 p.m. or noon yesterday, something funny happened that was straddle related. So I was big blind, I was playing at MGM. The guy on my left wasn't at the table. He should have been under the gun, he wasn't at the table. So the guy 2 seats to my left has his straddle out. He's under the gun, he can straddle. As the dealer is dealing the cards, the guy who was up from the table on my left runs back in. So now he's under the gun. The guy 2 to my left can't straddle anymore. He's not the under the gun player. So he takes it back. That hand plays out. But the next hand, the guy who wanted to straddle, who's 2 to my left, should be able to. Now he's under the gun. Well, after that hand plays out, the guy who ran in for his under the gun hand, which was his last free hand before the blinds, he leaves. So now I'm small, and instead of the guy on my left being the big blind, the guy 2 to my left is the big blind, and he can't straddle again. So the guy who was up from the table when all this started took away the guy who was 2 to my left. He took away his straddle twice. First time he ran in, causing him not to be under the gun anymore, and then when he left, he forced that guy to be the big blind, both times preventing him from straddling. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was just, you know, a couple of us noticed exactly what happened and how funny it was that 2 opportunities to straddle and neither one the guy was actually able to. So I got to get back and go to sleep for a few hours so I could hopefully make up some ground and play more than 10 hours tomorrow.